Hello and welcome to the newspaper review here on Tab TV. My name is Williams Abule and today is the 7th day in the month of September 2022. Yes, I always remind you guys that we're already in the Ember month, so take it easy out there as you move around going about your daily activity. Well, if this is the first time you're seeing this video, well, this is where we bring you the headlines across newspapers around Nigeria and we get to talk about it. Yes, I always repeat that, so that you know where you are. So do well to subscribe to this channel so you get updated with the headlines on our daily newspapers here on Top TV. And to do this with me today is the beautiful Natasha Brown, the screen goddess. You're welcome to the program. I'm so excited to have you here once more. And then together, Natasha and I are going to go on to analyze some of the headlines I'll be reading out to you shortly. But we'll go straight into the headlines, but that will be after this short break. You stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
My country people, you wey don register for your PVC. Make sure say you go collect your PVC o. The matter you no stop there o. Make you join body with other Nigerians, vote casual leaders wey go make the country better. No let world people buy you o. Remember, na our future be this. And this future, we must take am by force because your votes na be your voice.
This message is proudly brought to you by THAV Media Limited.
All right, welcome back from that short break. We'll begin the newspaper headlines on this day newspaper for today, the 7th of September 2022. And on this day newspaper here, as the major headline from the top here, it says, Akabweze, federal government may rework MTEF over suspension of 5% telecoms tax, says Nigeria may end up unwillingly with IMF if it fails to address fiscal challenges in sensible, sustainable manner. Hints at hike in banks' contributions to AMCON. Insists government not bloated, only needs rebalancing. All right, so if you need to get details of that, of course, you know, this day newspaper is the place. All right, moving on, we also see INEC, comprehensive list of registered voters out soon. You find story on page 42 of this day newspaper. Also moving downwards on that paper, we see here 2023, PDP still undecided on who leads presidential campaign. That detail is on page 43 of this day newspaper. As the major headline on this day newspaper, we see here Asuu strike. Federal government will not sign agreement it cannot implement, says minister. Government reiterates offer to include 200 billion naira in 2023 budget for varsities revitalization. Outstanding arrears, says it can only afford 23.5% salary increase. Professor Kada to get 35% upward review. Constitutes team to review BRICS committee recommendations. VCs recommend 800,000 naira salary for professors. All right, so do well to pick up a copy of this day newspaper to get details of that story. All right, Natasha, let me ask you this question. It says federal government will not sign agreement it cannot implement, says minister. Do you think this agreement the Asuu has been fighting for, what has kept students out of school for over 6 months, do you think that the federal government is not capable of meeting implementing this agreement? Yeah.
Well, if we're being honest, we know that we're in a whole lot of financial dilemma right now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't think that it's out of place if the federal government said they don't have the finances to actually be able to implement what Asuu is asking for. So coming from that point of view, it's understandable. I mean, we're still borrowing money here and there, so it's a lot to think about. But this has been a case that has been ongoing for a long time now. Jonathan had already started implementing it, and all of a sudden, this new administration comes in, and then they cannot keep up. People are asking why. Why can you not be able to keep up? So at the end of the day, it is a sad thing that there's still this back and forth between Asuu and the federal government. But I think one person has to budge, one party has to budge for the sake of the kids, for the sake of our students. They have to go back to classes, right? So we see that from what you have said, the federal government, they are willing to come implement some percentages pertaining to salaries, and also they're looking at implementing the 200 billion per year starting from next year, 2023. Literally, it means that they're pushing it to the next leadership coming in. But I think that first things first, our students need to get back to school. They need to learn. And if the federal government is willing to come up a certain percentage, can we at least start from there?
Yeah.
But another thing that will make me to be very much in line or empathetic with the Asuu body would be that our federal government, they've been quite dishonest for a long time. So they say, okay, let's start with this, and eventually we'll give you that. And once you start, the next thing it's taking another 4 years for them to want to implement this, and then we go back to the same thing where they have to strike again because you have not pulled through on our agreement so far. So at the end of the day, it is a sad one. But I think that if the federal government is willing to come up a certain percentage, let's start something, then the Asuu part, the Asuu body should be able to say, okay, let's work with this. You know, because I think this strike has been ongoing for like 6 months now.
This is the 7th month, unfortunately. It's the 7th month. It started since February, and you know, it's been running like forever.
It is really scary because I'm almost thinking that, you know, because the federal government is saying that they would have to probably implement this 2023, then Asuu strike might get to 2023.
Well,
like that would be a total disaster.
Yeah, it will be, but we're not hoping that they are going to let it
stretch for that long.
Yeah, we are believing that they can meet Asuu on a middle ground, and that's what they have refused to do. The federal government has consistently tried to stay on their side of the table and say, okay, we are not shifting grounds. If you guys will not listen to us, we are not going to listen to you. And that's where it looks like it has been for a long time. And Asuu has pulled out on many of these, you know, agreement meetings they've had because the federal government has refused to say what they want to hear. And at this point in time, both parties are feeling the bite, and unfortunately, the students are the one feeling the most of the, you know, the pain of this whole battle between the federal government and Asuu. And we keep appealing to the federal government that they should at least meet Asuu on the middle ground so that the students can go back to school. It is no story, it is not new news that our universities are in shambles. If you go around some of the schools, the infrastructures in these universities, in the classes, yes, it's very how would I put it, disheartening to see some of the conditions that these schools infrastructures are in.
Our laboratories are almost nothing to write home about.
Our computer, laboratories are not computer laboratories. We just have monuments of big computers there and all of those. And this is a 21st century generation. Children, these kids are way more advanced than some of the, educational materials that
we have still.
So we need to upgrade, and that's what the federal government, what Asuu is asking for. And what they're asking for is not too much. If our educational system is of standard, it will give us better quality in terms of the graduates that we produce.
And this even gives us an indication as to how the federal government really prioritizes our education. It means that if you have to drag this long with the educational sector to try to implement what it is that they really desire and ask of you, it means that you don't necessarily put an air of importance on them, on that particular sector. The aviation sector recently, they just decided, okay, we're going to go to strike, okay, because aviation fuel and all of that. In the space of 3 days or so, what they needed was released. So it almost looks like, okay, because it's the airlines, it's going to affect us personally. So we have to take care of this real quick. But for the educational sector, okay, we can. No, it's a
unfortunate.
sad one.
And then somebody was making a joke this morning. I was watching Arise TV, and the presenters there were like, okay, in a country where it's only the highest office in the land, like the presidential office, requires that you just attend primary school or secondary school. Like, you don't need to even have the certificate. Let it be that you were there and then you dropped out.
Some of them can't even find their certificates.
So if your president, I mean, if your president has only YX certificate, I mean, how then will he prioritize things like this?
It's appalling.
So a lot of things are already misplaced, and we are hoping that, moving forward, we'll begin to prioritize things like education, our security, our economy, and to make people, let's get it right. That's all we are, asking for. All right, we're going to move on with other papers here, and our next paper will be Vanguard newspaper for today, the 7th of September 2022. And on Vanguard newspaper here, we see here how gunmen invaded Labour Party's meeting in Enugu. We find details of that on page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper. We also see here 2023, trouble for Nigeria if power goes to North. Pandef. Details is on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's go to the main headline on Vanguard. It says PDP fresh plot to oust Asuu on allies plan counter moves. Wicked group in fresh plot to oust Asuu. National Working Committee backs him. Why Atiku must preside over next session. Board of Trustee member says ex-VP playing politics with Asuu's removal. One item agenda on the cards. Stop fooling Rivers people, Wike tells PDP. Worried governorship aspirants to meet Wike. Atiku meets PDP reps members, appoints Aniago media aide. APC mocks PDP chair. Details of all of that you find on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. We also see this very beautiful picture of the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in a handshake with the Queen of England there. So we carry on with all the headlines. You see here Boko Haram banditry and church in Nigeria. If we speaking PFN, that's the Coastal Fellowship of Nigeria, speaking their details is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Down at on the paper here, we see 30 arrested in Boko over weekend's bloody rival court clash. DSTV Go TV tariff hike. Tribunal dismisses case against more teachers. Details of that is on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Okay, so from the report here, we see that there is a fresh plot, according to the newspaper headline here on Vanguard. There is a fresh plot to oust, the current PDP chairman, and this has been on the news for quite a while now. The back and forth in the party and the proposed or the assumed disunity. I don't know what to make of it, because the party keeps telling you that there's no disunity, that we are together. And we just have some few persons that are aggrieved here and there, especially the governor of Rivers State and all of that. But then we are one. But it is clear that there's been a recurrent call for the stepping down of the current chairman. And here we see again that they have renewed the call for that to happen. What's your reaction to that story? And why is it taking the PDP so long a time to, fix these issues that they have?
Well, at the end of the day, for me, it's a thing of people are beginning to lose their knack for integrity and, tilt more to personal aggrandizement. At the end of the day, you as a chairman, your major point of call, your first port of call is to make sure that there's unity in the party, that everybody feels okay, which sometimes is unachievable because not everybody would absolutely like your decisions. But when certain things are clear, for example, most appointments are given to the northern people than the other regions, then you know that there's a clear case of favoritism, so to speak. So it's not unseen that there will be parties that are aggrieved about such things happening, and then there are bound to be defections, there are bound to be factions, because the chairman is not simply listening to what
it seems biased.
yes. So and I don't know why it's such a big deal for him to resign anyway. They know what their problems are, but I think that this is not the time any party should be having internal crisis.
Yeah.
It will do you a big disservice, especially 2023 elections is just around the corner. So it's going to be such a disservice for the party. I hope that they're able to come together and have diplomatic talks. What is the way forward, right? For the IU man, I think he has done how many years?
No, I think he's been there for, yeah.
So he should be able to listen to all parties and know how to move forward with this. But unfortunately, he already has some allies that are trying to counter the whole you have to resign, you have to leave. At the end of the day, I only hope that the best comes out of all of it, because we already know that Wike is actually one of those that are aggrieved with all of the decisions that have taken place so far. But a judge has come out to speak as well against all that has been going on. So I hope that they can come together and actually put heads together to put out progressive ideals for the party, because this will do them a total disservice.
I so agree. And then, I think it's all about creating balance in the system.
Yeah.
These persons that the PDP says are aggrieved and they are just, making noise for their own personal interests. For me, if you look at it, holistically, they're just asking for balance. And then, according to Governor Wike, he is not asking the party chairman to step down because that's what he wants. It is what the party chairman said he will do if a northern candidate emerges. And now we have a northern candidate as the presidential flag bearer of the party. So just honor what you said you would do. Is that so difficult? And now Ayu is coming back to refute his word to say, oh, this party chairmanship is a full tenure chairmanship. I cannot, step down halfway. Just like you said earlier, it's about integrity. When you say something, do it. For the interest really of the larger, population, not just about you. It's not about you. So, but now, that is for the PDP to resolve. But I keep saying it here, time is running out of them. And we just have the campaigns to begin in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks or thereabout. And then once that starts and this is still on, it's going to create a very huge distraction for the party, which is not good for them. This
Even
is the party.
Other parties are going to latch on to the internal crisis and use that to their advantage.
Of course, because this is a party that is doing all they can to take back power come 2023. So if you are not even together internally, how do you plan to take over power from a powerful party as the APC with a candidate that is telling you that this is my turn and by every means I'm going to be there?
Yeah.
So, it is by now I thought the PDP will be, strategizing a lot more.
It's even passing the message, if you're not able to put your house in order, how are you able to put a larger country in Nigeria in order?
In fact, that's a very good question. This is the acid test where we're supposed to see them make sacrifices and do the right thing and at the right time. All right, we're going to take the last paper for today. That will be the Daily Sun newspaper. And on the Daily Sun here, the headline says, IPOB begins arrest of terror gangs in Southeast. Details of that's on page 26 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Also, we see we've made significant impacts. Kwara governor speaking there. And as the major headline here, it says, Atiku, Tinubu, Obi to fight for 84 million votes. INEC pledges to publish comprehensive list of registered voters soon. We also see here, customs intercepts explosive making chemicals in Ogun. You find that story on page 4 of the Daily Sun newspaper. At the very bottom part of the paper, we see Asuu strike. Federal government offers professors 35%, orders 24% pay rise. To consider position on no work, no pay policy. Constitutes 14-man committee on gray areas. Committee of VCs wades in, sets up peace building team. Details is on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. So we have 84 million votes to be contested. Yes, to be contested for. And a lot of Nigerians have their fingers crossed, not knowing which way this is going to swing too. Whether it's the APC, the PDP,
Or the
or
LP.
yeah, the third force, which is the Labour Party, and then there's also the ADC and all of that. So there's a lot that's going to happen, but it's 4 million votes to fight for. What's your take on that story?
I think for the first time, that's not really a bad number of registered voters.
very
Like
true.
right now, for me, like that is not a bad number because, okay, it tells me that a lot of people have woken up. They are ready, you know, to cast their votes. They're ready to take the country back into their arms. And we see a lot of parties are vying for the top position, which is something that I love to see. But unfortunately, I'm not very much into most of the candidates because it's still like a recycling process. But I do hope that Nigerians have woken up enough to be able to know what is important and what gives.
Very true.
To be able to know that this is not about whether a man comes from your region or from your state or it's your brother or it's from the same religion. It's the country working. Is the country working? Is there somebody that is progressive in their thinking and is providing you with solutions, right? That they are going to work with or they're going to look at implementing that we can actually be able to hold them ransom to. So we should look out for these things. For me, they actually anyway haven't started actively campaigning because I'm yet to really hear them talk about their manifestos properly and all that. The person that I mostly hear about what he'll do is Peter Obi of the Labour Party, but the others I'm not really certain. By the end of the day, I hope, and one thing I'm really pushing for is I really hope that we have a presidential debate.
Yes,
I'm really pushing for that.
And then even though we have, even though it comes to that, are these candidates willing to
show up? Like
honor
if
those
you're not willing to
invitations?
show up, then that's an indication that okay,
You have nothing to offer.
Yes.
And that should count when Nigerians go out to
yes,
vote.
because it means that you don't respect me as a citizen. I want to hear what you have to say to me.
Yeah, that's so
Because
true.
at the end of the day, my outcomes is in your hand. If the economy is in crisis, if our financial sector is in crisis, if the healthcare sector is in crisis, if our educational sector is in crisis, I'm in crisis. Do you get what I mean? So if you can do me that service of coming out to letting me know what your manifesto is, and then I see from your body language, your verbal language, and all of that, that you are actually looking at the progressive movement of the nation, then why not? You have my vote. So 84 million voters, I am so excited about that, and I hope that nobody is looking at collecting some little money there and there, to give their votes. So
True. I must
I'm looking out
commend.
for that.
I must commend INEC. INEC
They've
has
done a good job.
Yes, this
They've
time
done a good
around.
job, I
And
must
then
say.
I must also commend Nigerians that have come out to register. But it doesn't stop there. Like we always say here on TAP TV, you need to come out. And first of all, you need to go out and get your PVC. Now that you have registered, 84 million is a good number. Now that you have registered, you need to also pick it up and then participate, in the voting process come the general elections. Don't just sit back and be very passive and dormant about it. You need to get involved. That's how your voice can count. That's how your votes too can count. So for me, I say I commend INEC because they are doing, they seem to be very transparent from the ongoing. Like they keep telling us what they are doing and letting Nigerians know that, okay, these are the numbers, and we are hoping that, we will not have a lot of voter apathy. People will come out and, participate in the process and genuinely vote to move this country forward. So, well, that's all the headlines we'll be taking today. Thank you so much, Natasha.
Thank you.
And then to our viewers, I want to thank you for staying up to this time. Don't forget that you can also stay connected to us on all our social media platforms. We're on Facebook as TAP TV. On Instagram is TAPTV_NG, and on Twitter is at TAP TV. So stay connected to us on all of this platform. And of course, we have very interesting programs here that you would love to see. Well, that's all. And till next time I come your way again, don't forget to go and pick up your PVC. It's very important that you do so. Till next time, I'll see you. My name is William Sabule, and this has been the Newspaper Review.